My name is Clint Vaught. I've been tattooing for 10 years and I own a tattoo shop in Evansville, Indiana called Crescent City Tattoo. I got interested in tattoos as a kid. A couple of my uncles had some tattoos they got in the military. They were done in like the 70s, but they still had the sort of old-timey American traditional look to them. In my early 20s, I started tattooing. In the first couple years of tattooing, I tried to do sort of traditional tattoos, but I didn't really have the right reference materials. And the guy that taught me how to tattoo brought in this set of tattoo designs. They were from a tattoo supply company from the 1940s, the Milton Zeiss Tattoo Supply House, and they were based in Rockford, Illinois. And so I really tried to do a bunch of those tattoos and tried to do them the same way they were illustrated on the design sheets. That was what really got me interested in that sort of world of tattooing, and it kind of opened up the door to the stuff sort of before then, kind of between World War I and World War II. And shortly thereafter, I found out about another tattoo supply company called the Waters Supply House. It was owned by a gentleman named Percy Waters. He was originally from Anniston, Alabama, but his primary time making tattoo supplies was in Detroit, Michigan. Those two supply companies in the 20s, 30s, and 40s were the biggest in the world, and they were here in the Midwest. Getting more interested in tattoo history, I started doing my own tattoo research, collecting antique tattoo ephemera. Through that journey, I just started looking in newspaper archives. I found out about a tattoo artist from Bedford, Indiana, from the early 20th century named Mike Huff. I'd spent about 5 years researching Mike, looking through newspaper articles, interviewing people that knew him when he was alive. He was born in 1892 and he passed away in 1967. And I actually found 3 people in Bedford that knew him. I knew him as a tattoo artist, but it kind of gave him like more of a person. I was able to write a biography.
My great-grandfather was his next-door neighbor, and a lot of times after school or when I was young, my dad would take me up there to my great-grandpa's, and Mike and Hazel would come over, and I'd sit there and look at their tattoos, and it was awesome. Good time, good memories from my childhood. About 5 years ago, I started contacting other tattoo historians and tattoo collectors about Mike Huff. And I ended up befriending a tattoo artist from California named Lyle Tuttle. Lyle was a very famous tattoo artist in the 70s. He was in Rolling Stone magazine. He tattooed Janis Joplin. He tattooed some of the guys in the Allman Brothers and was kind of immersed in that kind of rock and roll world. And Lyle actually corresponded with Mike Huff in the 60s. So in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, Lyle got into tattooing, and he was seeing that there were a bunch of these old tattoo artists that had started tattooing during World War I that were passing away. So he kind of took it upon himself to try to get to know these guys and put together their story and get some of their tattoo effects. And I ended up kind of becoming friends with Lyle because Lyle actually corresponded with Mike for years, about once a week, once every other week. And that was really powerful because Lyle started tattooing in 1947. So he was like this stepping stone between these pre-1940s tattooers that had started in like World War I, the 20s, the 30s, and like myself that started tattooing, 10 years ago. I've published 5 or 6 books. I have a small tattoo publishing company, and we specialize in mostly Midwestern tattoo history. We've done projects for other tattoo artists as well. And I just feel like it's really important to preserve these things, and not only for people to be able to see their work as, tattoo flash and art, but also to kind of humanize them and tell their stories, just as you would want to know the story of, an artist or a guitar builder or a filmmaker. A lot of this stuff is a way bigger part of kind of like the American picture and the American language than we think it is. People have been getting tattooed forever, and in the last 10 or 20 years, there's more people getting tattooed now than there ever have been probably in human history. People have been doing this for hundreds of years.